Welcome to the Diablo podcast. We are online at DiabloPodcast.com. I am your host, Flux, and I am joined this week by DiablosMinion.
Hi.
That was great. And Eliminator. No, I'm kidding. Neinball.
Guten Tag. No one to steal it this week.
You get your own back. Yeah, I was thinking Eliminator because you just mentioned you've been playing League of Legends together. And as we talked about on the podcast just recently, there's no reason you need to buy the items. The game is free. So no one would ever actually buy items, right?
Oh, of course not.
Any update on that there, Neinball?
Yes, I was talking with the Eliminator last night, and he's already dropped some money buying the on-sale champions this week.
No.
I think he's just being softened up for Diablo 3's real money auction house.
It's like, it's an entry-level drug.
Yeah, it's a gateway drug. the first one's free, and then pretty soon. But we're going to talk about a little bit about the auction house in a bit, and we're also going to talk about the appearance of legendary items in the game, and some about those new skill videos, and a little bit about something else. 10 character limit, which we are all not overjoyed by. Sort of a mixed bag this week on the podcast instead of our usual thing with just one feature for hours and hours. And hours.
In hours.
And hours, yes. Okay, first topic. Blizzard is an evil, monstrous corporation. They're going to create virtual items and sell them in the real money auction house for pure profit and flood the economy and make more money. Yes or no?
Boo.
Oh. Well, obviously, since it's going to be anonymous, it's anonymous for a reason, so that way they can go and sell their items and no one will know. So that way they can profit from it.
Yes. Step 1, item sales. Step 2, anonymity. Step 3, profit.
I thought it was step 3, and then step 4, profit.
I've simplified things. So what do you think, DM? Can you envision Blizzard creating items from thin air and selling them anonymously? Does this just seem tinfoil hatty?
I wouldn't put it past them.
We're going to take back your fanboy award. You can't say things like that. Blizzard is perfect and noble and pure.
Oh, I thought we were on Diablo IncGamers, not the actual.
I guess you're not. I guess you're not. Could take back your fawn site logo as well. People have been, suspecting this and suggesting this. Try to say them both at once there. But it seems unlikely to me. Their goal is to make, a nickel off 10 million transactions, and making a few $500 sales for pure profit would obviously be, that's money to us, but I don't think it's a drop in the bucket compared to what they're hoping to make. Just skimming pennies off of a billion sales.
And also, like, the biggest thing on that one is just what the repercussions would be if they got caught. How devastating would it be to have some sort of huge scandal come out and say that, oh, Blizzard's been selling items in the auction house this entire time. Here's all the sales figures and all other types of stuff. It would ruin their reputation, not just as a developer to all of us consumers, but within, the game developers, like, little community themselves. They'd be looked at, people would probably end up leaving the company over it.
That's kind of where my point was going to go on that, is that if they did get caught doing that, that would undermine confidence in the auction house in itself, and I think they would have a huge repercussion, and like you said, people would leave the company, etc. And I think that would cost them a lot more money than anything they could possibly make selling individual items.
Yeah, it's just not worth it at all for them to attempt to do that on any scale that would make them any amount of money.
Purely speculative here, DM, but what do you think top items might go for? Are we thinking like $50 or $500 or $1,000 or?
God, I hope not 1,000. It just depends on the stage of the game. If they do go out and sell their own items, say they found the Wind Force and it's 2 weeks into the game, they can sell that for whatever price they wanted. But after the game's been out for 5 years, getting a Wind Force might not be as difficult because there's more of them.
They'll be adding new high-end items all along too, though, so there'll always be something new that no one else has.
Way to shoot down my theory.
Thanks,
Flux.
Yeah, that's my job here. That's why I get.
What do I even do this for?
For free Path of Exile beta keys. I think what will be potentially really valuable is, they've said they'll be all crafting in the semi-random mods, and someone's obviously going to craft, item X that's got 3 absolutely perfect mods on it or something. Just it would be the ideal weapon for PvP or something like that. And there's only one of it. The Wind Force, there'll be 1,000 or something, like you say. It'll keep just getting the pool will get diluted. Since we've been talking about the real money auction house, I've been looking at some of the D2 item sales sites, just for citing the figures for actual prices. and they have numerous items in the hundreds of dollars range. Very unique stuff, super quality rares. I would assume there's a smaller market for Diablo 2 item sales for real money at this point versus what Diablo 3 will be. So I don't know if we can extrapolate from that, but it does seem like hundreds of dollars is not, wildly out of line, expecting D2, D3 items to sell for.
Yeah, especially, after so many ladder resets and, 10 years after the game came out, that they're pricing it at $100 means that they're actually expecting to be able to sell it for that price point. Because if you look at it, the majority of the stuff goes somewhere between $3 and $10 for the majority of their items, and you're only looking at the really, really rare, like some of the, I think it was when I was looking at it myself, was some of the class skill amulets with like strength, vitality, dex, and things like that. Like really, really good high-end mods were going for above $20-$50.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed that too. It's the godly rare items that are for D2 that are priced high, because you can buy a Windforce for $1.
So none of us give a lot of credence to Blizzard being sneaky and devilish enough to actually sell items or create items from thin air or whatever.
Yeah, that one is definitely a little bit too tinfoil hatty.
Okay, are you ready for my grand unified theory of Blizzard fanboyism?
All right, shoot.
You guys are obviously aware that we get, some people react very negatively to really any perceived criticism of Blizzard games or the company or elements of the company or anything. Say yes.
Some people. Yeah.
Yes.
Some people. So people who aren't on this podcast, it would seem. But one of the things that I've noticed, it's something that you hear Christopher Hitchens say a lot if you watch any of his debates and stuff, is that people get really defensive when you question their faith or their allegiances. I mean, it's pretty obvious in real life. You can insult someone and they don't really care. You insult their mother and it's like, okay, it's on now. People have faith in things and some things they really believe in. And you also see that in real life with debunking. If you see someone exposing how psychics are doing their frauds, their tricks, or if they catch the televangelist with a hidden earpiece getting information from backstage instead of from Jesus, people don't say, oh, thank you for exposing this fraud I was giving money to. They say, get out of here, you're ruining our faith, you're destroying something we believe in. I mean, obviously not everybody, but that's kind of a common reaction.
Yeah, they don't want to accept the fact that this thing that they believed in ended up being false.
I'm perhaps stretching this analogy, but this is my analogy that extends to Blizzard, is that some people really like Blizzard games, and maybe they don't know much about the gaming industry, or maybe they don't know much about how games are made. They just like the sausage. They don't want to see it made, as the old joke goes.
Yeah.
And so when you point out that, yeah, these games are obviously there is people who say they don't like games. We occasionally get the odd World of Warcraft isn't the most ideal, perfect color scheme in the history of video, and other people have more serious allegations. People think the story of StarCraft 2 sucks, for instance. I think you might have said that, Neinball. No.
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
But again, it's like Starship Troopers, one of my favorite movies. So, I'm not exactly a critic of plots.
Some people are not. I guess you guys are both giving examples of that. Some people are not real critical in that way, and they think Blizzard makes good games, therefore I love Blizzard, therefore I don't want to know about their PR department being, or there being preferential treatment that's not acceptable, or them being greedy and wanting to make money and stuff. So we get into those arguments, and people say you shouldn't be talking about this. I don't want it to exist. They don't even offer a counter argument. It's just like, this makes me unhappy that it exists. This discussion in any way.
Yeah.
Chirp 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 chirp. Yeah. So I don't know, because we get people who something comes up and it's like, well, just recently Rising Red is one of our common site commenters, and his account got banned by the new Diablo 3 forums for he pointed out that a thread that was talking about some other fan site, he's like, this is irrelevant, why is this here when all these good threads are being deleted, and he got a ban for that. And it's like, well, that's because it's one of the sites that Blizzard PR favors, and they allow things for that site, and if the same thing was up for a different site, it would be deleted in 1 minute. And it seems completely ridiculous that he would get banned for saying that, unless, of course, you kind of know that's how Blizzard PR is, which is, I was in no way surprised he got banned for saying that, personally. But then, I posted about that, and people are like, you shouldn't say this. All you guys do is complain about things. I'm like, well, but is this not worth complaining about? And I guess, to them it's not, because they like Blizzard and they don't want to think about this kind of stuff. Okay, digression. Any other comments on this, or are we moving on?
It's Bobby's fault. I'm done.
10 character limit for Diablo 3 accounts. Yes or no? Good or bad?
No, bad.
Boo. It's almost like a moo, but it's boo.
That was kind of what I assumed everybody would think, but since we've posted news about this, there have been some comments. This one commenter, actually named RGT, has posted the same comment on a previous podcast saying, why would anyone object to this? There's respecs and free specs. You can just remake your characters. You won't even need 10. All you really need are 5 or maybe 6. And I have lots of counterpoints to that, but before I belabor all of them, I'll let you guys...
You first.
I don't like the limit at all. I just think that, that is basically just limiting you. You can play one of each class in both normal and hardcore, and then that's it. All of your experimentation for any of the classes is expected to be on that one single character. It's like, so that way I can't go through and gear and rune up one character for a specific purpose, say running Inferno, and then another, of the same class. Let's say I'm, playing 2 monks for PvP. And with their intended direction for runes being socketed permanently to a single skill, it's like I'm going to be having collections and collections and collections of all of these runes just to be able to go back and forth between like two different things on a single character. This is my set of runes for PvPing. This is my set of runes for, going and running Inferno. And I have to stop in town and swap all of them out every single time in order to, go back and forth between them, as opposed to just, going back to the character selection screen and clicking on a new character and then going.
Yeah, exactly. They give us a really, 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 really large number of character builds, but they won't give us more than 10 character slots. Because, having to do what Neinball just said require, take up a lot of time and just give us more space just to select a character. If you have to build for PvP, you got to build for, just running around killing monsters. And then you got the hardcore, you got that. But what if you just like to have a different build? That's the whole point of Diablo, is just to have different builds per character.
Yeah, I made up a quick list of points on this. Hardcore characters, softcore characters, low-level dueling, mid-level dueling, high-level PvP, MF characters, power characters to rush friends or help out against Inferno bosses, retired characters used for crafting. That sounds like more than 10 to me, personally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just a little bit more.
Yeah, I completely forgot about, like low-level duels and things like that. Maybe you have a brand new friend that, say it's a year down the line, we're almost in like 2013, and you have a friend that's buying it for the first time, and you want to go through and help him out. Well, I'm just going to go roll up a new level 1 character so I can run with him, so he can go and have his fun, experiencing the storyline without having to get a rush through. But oh wait, sorry, all 10 of my character slots are full. I'm not gonna delete any of my hardcore tunes to help you out. You're kind of on your own.
Just go delete one of your level 60 hardcores. You don't need it anymore.
Yeah, we also haven't even heard what they plan on doing with dead hardcore characters. So I imagine I've never played hardcore, but I could definitely see how someone might be attached to a hardcore character that they've had for a very long time that, that accidentally got killed because they screwed up, but he's been level 60, you've been playing him for a year, maybe you want to keep that ghost.
Yes, Flux, how does that feel?
I've been wondering what they're going to do with that, really, in terms of, are they going to have some kind of like a little graveyard thing on your account? You can look at the old characters and they're dead and see what level they are and such.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like they don't have to save the entire character data file. They would just need to have the name and the level, and you could look at them and go, oh yeah, I remember that monk or whatever. Although in a cooler world, it would have a whole little, you could actually look at what their equipment was or something, or see where they died, that kind of thing. You could browse through your own corpses.
Yeah,
replay of how you died.
Or
That'd be painful.
Something like what is this?
Yeah.
As you pointed out, Neinball, if you want to re-roll a character or make a new one, sort of the way of the Diablo games has been it's fun to play low-level characters. It's fun to twink stuff and just try a new character out, try new things. Maybe you want to try going through level, Act 2 again, only using, lightning skills or something like that. Or only using this melee skill instead of using whatever you did last time. And people, you can't reset a character from 60 to 10 just to run through the game again. But in theory, you can make a new one. So it's weird that people would say, why would you only want, I'm not just going to end up with one of each character at level 60 and then never play the game again. I mean, at least I hope not.
I primarily stick with a single character and play in game. The majority of my playtime will be on just a single character for like a singular, focus or whatever. But I do enjoy going back and helping out friends on lower level characters, or just trying out new stuff, especially like in Diablo 2. And just one of the things that your comment just made me think of is like Final Fantasy Tactics. You would play through the game hundreds and hundreds of times, and there in the different communities there'd be different ways of playing it. Well, I'm going to go and play through the game using only chemists or using only squires. It's like you challenge yourself. Can you beat the game only doing this by, taking away all of your other options? It's like, maybe I want to roll a new character like a monk and, play through the game using only long reach and sanctuary, something along those lines.
Do you think this comes from a World of Warcraft mindset, where it's largely about getting a character to max level and then doing end-game rating stuff, and alts are mainly for professions and other sort of support things?
I could definitely see where the design decisions, have been influenced by that. And I guess just, from seeing in World of Warcraft for so many years, and I mean, heck, I think the game wasn't even 6 months old when people were claiming that, we needed more character slots, and that they have...
What is the limit, by the way, just before you go on?
I believe it's 10.
It's 10 and WoW? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
What a coincidence.
But it's, the people have been asking for it for a very, very long time, and they've never budged on it. And they keep citing server resources as the reason why they don't want to do it. That adding an additional character slot is just going to be too much on the back end, even as a paid service, to be able to keep up with it. So I don't really see them possibly selling characters in Diablo 3. It won't surprise me if they do it, but I don't really see that as one of their reasons for only limiting it at 10.
So I think that's the most retarded excuse ever. The game that holds billions and billions of people, and they're worried about server space.
Yeah, it's like, are they going to limit game sales because they don't have enough space for more characters? I mean, come on. But my thing I was going to say isn't because in World of Warcraft there's hundreds of individual realms, and they only have maybe they only have X amount of data space allocated per realm. So that's kind of, they can make a more reasonable argument with WoW, I would think. But then in Diablo 3 we're looking like we're going to have 10 realms in the whole world or something. I mean, there's going to be millions and millions of people on some of these realms. If there's obviously if there's just 2 for North America like we have with D2, they've talked about them being very large, and then it's a little harder to say yeah, we can't have 15 slots per account because the 8 million other people are taking all the space up. It's like, well, buy more servers.
Well, it's not even so much in terms of just space, but the back end database processing and things like that, because everything gets logged and everything gets backed up periodically. That's one of the reasons for like the server downtime, is they take everything from the active servers and put it into backups, for review, or just in case something happens that they can roll back.
And to hide where they introduce new items for real money. Oh, wrong game, sorry.
Oops.
That only strengthens my point, as they say on the internet, is that if there's, that's more viable in World of Warcraft with much smaller realms, and they're having to back up everything for X number of people. But if they're already going to be having millions of people in non-persistent worlds in D3, it's like, are they not going to sell? Oh, we can't sell any more D3 games. We're all out of character space. We have no server capacity for more characters. We're going to stop sales. It's like, no, of course not. So it just seems like something that they're doing it with maybe the wrong mindset, or they're just or it's just another one of these, D3 is kind of being made for casuals, where, your grandma's only going to have 2 characters. And those of us who want to have 50 characters and low-level dueling and mid-level dueling and hardcore and softcore, etc., it just seems wildly inadequate.
Yeah, and I guess like the thing about like the game sales and such, I don't really think so. Like, I mean, like your point about them going through and like stop selling games, because it's really different between selling more copies of the games and like even giving a single character slot. Because like look at World of Warcraft, if they give everybody an additional character slot, that's 11 million new characters, as opposed to people going through and having to buy new copies of the game. That you'd have to sell over 100,000. You'd have to sell like a million 1.1 more copies of the game in order to reach the same number of new character slots, as opposed to just increasing it by 1, which is not really something they do in a year. So I mean, just increasing the character slots is a very, very vast increase in server resources as opposed to selling more copies.
Of the people you know who play World of Warcraft, how many of them have all 10 character slots filled?
Almost everybody.
How many people in World of Warcraft do you know have multiple copies of it for additional characters?
I think in my guild alone, we've got like 7 or 8 people. I used to have 2 copies myself.
So mission accomplished, basically.
Yeah. Now, do you have to get not the map packs, but the expansions for that, or you just gotta get the vanilla for it?
It depends on how far you want to take the character, but you'd have to get all the expansions, yeah.
So maybe this is just Blizzard's way of saying, if you want more characters, feel free to buy another copy of the game.
Could be, yeah.
How many characters do you need in your
More
perfect
than 10.
world? How many characters are allowed per Diablo 3 account?
I would say 20 would be a good number. It gives you 2 of every character, both regular and hardcore.
Admittedly, most people don't play softcore and hardcore, though. You generally do one or the other. But
Yeah.
I think for the PvP options and multiple builds and stuff, I think 20 would be pretty easily obtained. There were only 8 in Diablo 2. Why do we need more?
Well, in
'Cause you can
Diablo
make a
2,
free account.
yeah, exactly. I could make any number of accounts I wanted to. It's like I would fill up, even just my most recent stint playing a few months ago. I had like 2 accounts full of active playable characters, not monks or not mules.
Hope no monks. Weird.
Yeah.
As you point out, obviously, muling was a big reason for multiple accounts. I mean, I remember in my busy days of D2, I had probably 5 or 6 accounts that were just entirely mules. And I had them named, boots, one boots, an ambulance mule, jewelry mule, that kind of thing, just so you can keep them straight.
Yeah.
But in theory, we're not going to need mule characters in Diablo 3 because we have this giant. Every character's got a really big stash, and there's a really big shared stash. Although I can see quite quick, no matter how big it is, I can envision it filling up pretty rapidly.
Yeah.
Cool feature this week: leaked movies. Apparently leaked. Maybe it was a secret plan by Blizzard to get them out there without admitting it. But we got new videos of all 5 of the character classes doing lots of cool spells and skills and stuff. What did you guys think?
I thought they were all pretty cool. I liked them. It also does make me wonder. I mean, every single thread that mentions them on the official forums is getting deleted rather quickly. So it definitely is real and is a leak out there. They wouldn't be I don't think that they'd be so quick to delete them all if it was something that was fake.
What did you think, DM? Any particular ones that jumped out at you? Character classes you thought looked coolest?
I was actually, even though they're not very good quality, the skill upgrade, the visuals looked quite better, in my opinion. For example, like the magic missile on the wizard, instead of being the trail of it was straight before, now it's kind of curvy. Minor detail, but it's kind of cool now.
Any favorites for you there, Neinball?
I'd have to say probably like some of my favorites would be like the demon hunter skills. They all looked, pretty visually impressive, with the exception of the one shot that was, invisible. Not really much to say on the thing that you can't see. But most of the demon hunter skills looked really, really badass. Especially like the shadow power with the rapid fire.
Oh yeah, that was sexy.
Yeah, it's funny that they have these. We got that the last time they showed this kind of seal video with the demon hunter. There were a couple that were like, black spectral demons or something, and it's on a black background, and it's like, well, I'll just take your word for it, guys. I'm sure it looks really cool in the game, like these black ghosts come flying out and consume monsters, but when it's viewed on that black background, it's like, what?
It's something like, it's one of those things I always wonder, it's like, how'd that get past the editor? It's like just going through watching it, just waving them by. It's like, oh yeah, sure, I'm sure it looks fine.
Something in the Diablo 2 beta is that when everybody started playing it for the first time, getting into the jail levels and the barracks and stuff, we used to call the jail the Braille, because you could not see a damn thing. You had to actually use the mini-map and just sort of roll on the walls until you bumped into a doorway. And the developers had no idea of this, because they had like these super quality, they were working in these dark offices on these really good quality video cards and monitors, and it looked fine to them. But all the vast majority of their users were not on super powerful state-of-the-art systems at that point.
I
kind of wonder if
it's super.
Yeah, obviously those systems now are like VGA crap. You couldn't even buy it today. But I wonder if it's the same kind of thing with this, in that it looks good on their super quality monitors and video cards and in their dark offices on their 28-inch screens, And then you watch it through YouTube, and it's 480 pixels wide, and you can't see a damn thing. These black smudgy nothings.
Yes, that could also be the reason why they've not been officially released, possibly.
Yeah, given there was no sound, I kind of think they were, not ready for prime time.
Yeah.
Did you guys see any characters that you really liked and were just disappointed by, or any of the characters that you hadn't really considered, and now you're thinking, wow, it looks really cool?
Ooh, I want this one.
Go for it. Get it, Tiger.
One that I'm disappointed with is actually, the skill effects on the monk were, most of them were actually still pretty cool, but I was disappointed by the fact, especially after, I think it was like either last year or a few months ago, Bashiok was talking about how they painstakingly went through the having to go through all of the skills and make sure that all the different weapons had different attack animations and things of that nature. And then you have the monk that only attacks things with their fist, and with a female monk that's using a staff every time that she uses one of her attacks, she sheaves the staff on her back, including the wave of light, the bell, where she beats up the bell with the spectral staff while the other staff's on her back. And the other one, which is I think a Tempest Rush or Templar Rush, where she again creates a spectral staff to spin around in front of her with the actual staff that she was using was just kind of thrown on her back. That was one thing that I was kind of really disappointed with, that the monk doesn't have any actual type of weapon interaction with any of their skills if you're not using fist weapons.
I guess with the Tempest Rush one you were saying is if the spell the skill looks like you have a magic kind of glowing staff to use it with, then obviously if you're not equipped with a staff, it's not going to look right. So they had to make I assume whatever weapon you're using gets holstered, or stuck on your back for 1 minute while you do the skill. But as you point out, it's kind of silly to have this, you're using a weapon and then you're not using the weapon when you use your skills. If you're hitting a 20-foot metal bell, I would use my magical, super powerful stick instead of my elbow, personally.
Yeah, well, actually, in the video, if you look closely, she's using a spectral staff that she summons to go and start whacking the bell with.
The monk was kind of disappointing, but it was more from the beta footage. All the other characters seemed to be doing fine, but then the monk got surrounded and started getting his butt whooped.
Yeah.
I felt bad for him. Or maybe it was just it could have just been the guy playing him too. You never know.
Well, that was actually the common feedback that we got from the press event. It was actually, a little weird, is most people said that the monk was their favorite character to play, and then they also said that the monk was the most underpowered. Definite feeling was that the monk was a little bit undertuned. I think even Jay mentioned it, or one of the other developers mentioned that the monk was a little bit undertuned at this point in the balance passes.
Even though he was insanely overpowered in, 09 BlizzCon?
Yeah,
I thought the monk was really powerful the last two also.
Oh,
yeah.
He could have been last two.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, 09 and 010. I thought the monk was super strong, but maybe they've gone too far the other way on that. Okay, last thing. Legendary weapons in the game. We got a couple of new screenshots. Well, we got a ton of new screenshots from Blizzard just recently, but 3 of them show a barbarian using a gigantic, 4-foot-long sword, some kind of huge broadsword, but it's curved like a broadsword or a scimitar, and it's got a bunch of spikes on the back of it, and I think a can opener as well. But just huge and impressive, and we were kind of thinking maybe this is legendary because it's so big and impressive, but then again, it wasn't really glowing or, fire on it or electrical sparks or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys think it was legendary, and do you think legendary items should look massive and impressive at all times?
Well, of course. You got to compensate for something, don't you?
I mean, you are playing a video.
But that's I think the one thing that made me think that it was just going to be your normal everyday weapon was because of the fact that it didn't have any glowing or any type of particle effects or anything like that to it. I mean, it still looks like a pretty badass intimidating weapon, but I don't think that would be legendary quality.
I'm about to agree. Usually legendary items, even in rares, will have more than they'll have mods on them, which will grant some kind of effect that'll probably end up being able to show up. Fire damage, lightning, cold, etc.
Do we think that legendary items have unique models in most cases? I mean, there's probably a legendary version of that sword. This just wasn't it, is what you were thinking?
Maybe the model that you see, in your paper doll inventory, that'll change. I'm not sure how I would feel about the actual. I mean, it'd be cool for them to change the the in-game model that you're using, but an axe still looks like an axe.
I think we'll probably see more unique artwork for the legendaries, up in the higher tiers of gear, like the Inferno level or in-game hell stuff, as far as the unique models, and then probably just have some sort of like sparkle effect on it to designate whether it's a legendary or a rare at the lower levels, with probably not really having any unique artwork for it.
We got that one slide from Gamescom where they showed a whole bunch of legendary. They showed Inferno-only weaponry, and they were all very sparkly and weird-looking with effects on them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if that was made. Those aren't necessarily. Were those all legendary items as well? Do you think that was the implication, or is it just everything you'll find in Inferno will look a little different?
I think that the later of the two is everything's going to be, it's Inferno gear. If you see, a guy walk around, like hell, but you don't, but then you see someone that's in Inferno, he's in Inferno with the gear he's got on.
Yeah, for the presentations, that's what I felt was the part of the point was, it's like all the stuff that drops in Inferno will make you stand out from people that haven't done it yet.
Given some of our reactions to those Inferno-only equipment that we saw, they're looking kind of like fiber optic Christmas trees and other sorts of interesting appearances. What are the Inferno weapons going to look like? Are you going to, is it going to be one of these like, Final Fantasy things? You've got like a 12-foot sword or something?
I hope not.
It starts making me think of the one game from Square Enix, Vagrant Story. Well, I guess back then they were still Squaresoft. There's a weapon that you get off of this gigantic Minotaur that you get to fight called the Hand of Light, which is the weapon that the Minotaur uses. So you're basically wielding a light pole. It is like this 30-foot long, mace with a hammer, larger than you are, that you're just, wielding along with no effort whatsoever.
It looks fine on the Minotaur because he's gigantic, but on you it's like, where am I holding this?
Yeah.
I need a sheath. How do I sheath this?
The void.
You stick it in the ground and it lights up the area, apparently. We've actually seen, it seems like, more of the armor in the game. I mean, we haven't seen everything, obviously, and people keep complaining when they want to see more gear sets, but we have gotten a fair number of these previews of different gear sets compared to previews of high-level weapons or different weapon models. So maybe our excitement over the huge sword the Barbarian has in these screenshots just stems from us not having seen very much of it, and maybe there's tons of really distinctive-looking choppy things.
It could also just be, it's like one of the first weapons that we can just easily and readily identify. A lot of the other stuff that we see in the screenshots as well as the gameplay videos, small and pixelated, and you can't really make out what it is. Especially like say like the Demon Hunter and the crossbows and the bows. You'd be hard pressed to tell the difference between any of them if they're actually using different gear. Whereas with the armor, because it's all different colored or different shape or cover different parts of the body, it's much it's easier to readily tell the difference between them.
It's also interesting in that the gear sets they're showing us these previews of look really cool and unified and kind of organized, but it seems like we're very seldom ever going to have even half of the same gear set on our characters. We'll just always be kind of a mismatch. And that's something we were all discussing many months ago, wondering how gear sets would work, and we still don't really have answers to that. I mean, is a level 40 character ever going to look like what we see in these screenshots, where it's all kind of matches? Or are they just going to have a complete, clown costume of different stuff on? And maybe at level 60, you'll eventually get everything from gear set 17 or something like that, and you'll be matching at last.
But then you can go and dye your armor different colors, so it doesn't matter.
Yes. But if you have the elephant shoulder pads and the the unicorn helmet or something, it's like, it doesn't match. You need a trunk with this. Just general question on legendary weapons. Do you want them to always have different or mega or impressive graphics? If you have a legendary something on, we don't really know how rare legendary stuff will be, but do you want to know it when you see someone like, ooh, that's a legendary sword?
It'd be nice. Yeah. I would like that. To have like the different high-end legendary weapons to have their own unique graphics.
It could just be subtle as saying you're carrying it's just a regular like a broadsword, and then the guy next to you's got the legendary version of it. It's just nothing changes on it, but maybe it's just a smudge bigger. This kind of shows that it's bigger and better. I don't know.
No fire, no lightning.
Not taking into account all the fire, lightning, sparkles, and translucent stuff.
Tiny unicorns that orbit it.
How does the appearance of the equipment in World of Warcraft Neinball how is that set up by the legendary versions of stuff? I mean, if you have a regular of item X and legendary, is it always obvious?
That doesn't really translate because everything is individual. There's no like legendary version of the normal X weapon. They're all unique.
So if you just kill a regular Murloc versus the Murloc boss, you don't get the same kind of item from both?
That's correct. Like a regular Murloc probably just won't, drop anything that's actually of any use whatsoever. Whereas the Murloc boss, will drop, a weapon that you can go through and use. And that weapon might look similar to a weapon that's dropped by other bosses of the same, challenge level, with, a slight recolor or something along those lines.
So how do you know in WoW if someone's wearing super high quality gear or not? It's just everything has different models in the game.
Yeah, everything is has different models. Everything is unique, and then you'll have like the regular level gear, and then it'll be recolored for the heroic level gear. So that way you can always tell the difference between this person's just wearing normal raid gear, this guy's downing heroics.
And the shoulder pads get bigger, right?
Constantly. Size of continents.
Constantly.
Okay, guys. Thanks for your time. That's our topics, and we'll be back next week with another show about something more unified, probably. And also, you'll hear Ellie and I talk about the news rundown.
Well, can't wait.
Hopefully, looking forward to talking about the beta next week. We'll have the release date, maybe. Hopefully,
maybe.
Please.
I don't think so, but I'm thinking mid to late September. Moo.
Moo.
Moo. Moo. Moo. Moo. Moo.
Dying cow. Moo!